I'm live, guys. This is Lady Fantastic. The lighting is shit. I'm not interested or technologically. I mean, I could do something about it, but I don't care because it's the content of my and not the lighting. So let's talk about some Rings of Power, episodes 5 and 6. Took a little notey note here. So I want to say, like, in my opinion, episode 5 did not do really anything to further the plot. What it was about was more like character development and what little of it may have been there. But we see in Galadriel what I thought was really important, and maybe people don't see it the same way. But I thought it was a big deal that she admitted to Hallbrand the reason why she's on this like bender for violence is that because she can't stop. This is the way that she's responding to um, the death of her brother, and that's a big admission of vulnerability for her because she's not one to do that shit. Also, so episode 5, there's like elves, dwarves, mithril, and here we go. Let's talk about where everybody's at. So Gilgalad, or Gilgalad, sorry, yeah, Gilgalad is in Linden, and Linden is where he sees the rotten leaf fall. What he does is he sends his boy Elrond to Eregion to help Celebrimbor erect this forge, and I'm not sure how close the Misty Mountains are to Eregion, but they also Celebrimbor kind of basically uses Elrond to liaise with his BFF Durin and kind of get the 411 on the Mithril, even though they already knew about it. Um, Gilgalad's not the Gilgalad that I knew. Like, he's a hero and he's like just a straight stand up guy. And so in this, his behavior and Celebrimbor's behavior seem sketch. Why would that be? Let's think. Why would that be? Could why would elves of all the races be on a timeline? Elves are not on timelines. They do not say, okay, well, we got to get this done in 6 months. You saw Elrond. He's like, oh, it's been 20 years and it seemed like a weekend. So I have to think that the impetus for the forge and for the elves getting the mithril is external. And I think that it's Anatar. I don't think we've seen Sauron. I think Sauron's going to be the fair form, and I think he is the one that's whispering sweet somethings into Celebrimbor's ear, and then he's relaying it to Gilgalad. And what I think that is that this mithril, it's the one thing that could save the elves from diminishing. And so if he plants that seed, that creates the impetus to be on the timeline because they don't want to fade into the west. And it also, but because of that, there, this creates the need for the dwarves. One, where does mithril come from? Dwarves. And two, their building abilities are close to unmatched, so they would be wonderful to pair with. And you guys saw the doors of Khazad Doom. Those were a joint effort between Celebrimbor and I'm not sure if it was. I think it was Celebrimbor, but it was between the elves and the dwarves that say friend and enter Melon, whatever. Um, so what I think is going to happen is that now that the elves, and I think this is by Anatar or Sauron, I think that he's planted that seed in their ear that they need to get this mithril to save themselves. And because of that, he tells Durin, and Durin's like, "You're my buddy. I'll do whatever for you." and they're going to have to go deeper and deeper into the mountain to get the mithril. That is necessarily going to destabilize the integrity of that mountain, and going deeper and deeper increases the probability of revealing a Balrog, i.e. Durin's Bane. But I'm not sure what age Durin's Bane comes along exactly. I'm not sure if it's the beginning of the third age or when. Sometimes my time's not good. But if not, that guy, another, that, because Balrogs are buried deep within the earth. That's since the defeat of Morgoth. Um, so now let's talk about episode 6, and let's talk about Adar. Um, if you guys like read Lord of the Rings and or Tolkien, really what the orcs are supposed to kind of look like are kind of just pale, fucked up elves. Like, and so the fact that Adar looks like a pale, fucked up elf, indicated to me that maybe he was of that OG generation that, when elves were getting ready to be born, or they were being born, and Morgoth took them and warped them and used them for evil. Because, Morgoth can't create anything unto himself, and he hates that. All he can do is pervert the already existing. The power of creation only lies with Eru Iluvatar, or Iluvatar. I don't know. So that's the thing, and you hear Adar saying that Sauron was tinkering with the unseen world. He was trying to bring the unseen world to the seen world, but he was just missing that one thing. Well, guess what? Guess who might just know uh, old ancient secrets uh, pertaining to the seen and unseen world? Elves. Celebrimbor. So Anatar has probably whispered this shit into Celebrimbor's ear about the Mithril. He will probably also convince him that he needs to create rings of power for preservation or protection. But in doing so, he's also going to learn how the unseen can be turned into the seen, because when he creates the one ring, when like Frodo wears it, he can see the ring wraiths, so he achieves what he wants. Ultimately, Sauron, at the end of the day, Sauron is able to cause the unseen to be seen, and it's with the creation of that one ring. Who created that one ring? He did. But he created all other, the 16 rings with the help of Celebrimbor. He taught Celebrimbor. But all his evil and malice was put in the last one ring, and through it he could control all others, because there was a spell on that shit, bitch. Um, so we see Adar, and Adar wants to create essentially a home for his progeny, for his brothers and sisters, which are basically less evolved orcs, or Uruk, to which he refers himself. And so they're just further perversions of what he was, the original. So you see a diluting of the animals. They get more and more like crazy and messed up. Um, so he clearly split with uh, Sauron, because he said that he had sacrificed enough. What's up, dude? He had sacrificed enough of his children, for in Sauron's messed up experimentation, to bring the seen to the unseen, and vice versa. Um, so they've clearly got two different aims, and his aim is to create a habitable environment for his Uruk, for his orcs, for his brothers and sisters. And that means blotting out the sun. So geographically, the area around Mount Doom becomes important. And we see that what they had done, this trench system, they used to one, um, the sword hilt was a key that unleashed a dam. That dam flooded into this tunnel system they created and diverted the water to Mount Doom. When the water fell into Mount Doom, the amount of steam and pressure created caused it to erupt. And so we end at the final scene is the ash and the eruption is about to blast Galadriel in the elf face. Um, so we see then that in this, I mean, this was not this stuff is fan fiction, okay? So this is fan fiction in the world that Tolkien created. But in this story, what we're seeing is the impetus for for Doom to be erupted is to create a habitable environment for orcs. Now, that does become advantageous to Sauron eventually, but does it necessarily help him now? Is this part of his plan? Is he completely independent of Adar? These are things that we'll have to find out as we keep going. So let's see. Yeah, so another good thing was, man, I was gonna barf. I thought Galadriel and Hallbrand they were gonna make them kiss, and I'm like, this is terrible if they do this. This will be terrible if they do this. They cannot do this. This is so cheap if they do this. They didn't do it. So I'm glad, but the fact that they even got close, I'm kind of pissed. But I see Galadriel maturing and admitting to being like in pain over losing her brother, and she's got a shared grief with Hallbrand because something precious has been taken from them both. In Hallbrand's case, it seems like maybe Adar killed his wife and his child. That's what it's leading us to believe. So we don't get any Harfoots, we don't get any elves, or we don't get any Elrond or Durin or yeah, and we just really get the Southlands. The Numenorians come to save the day, but in the end, um, Doom Doom goes boom boom, and we're probably going to take off from there. And I said, so that's kind of you know I'm digging it. I'm here to watch it, man. So people can, hate, or they can talk about the huge disparities in the lore between the lore and this, and that's fine, but like it's all about coming in and accepting it for what it is. If you go in there and you make an agreement with the people that make this, it's an unspoken agreement that that these are not the exact words of Tolkien, that they have bought the rights to exist within the world Tolkien created, then you can at least appreciate the creative directions they decided to go to for that in and of itself. And let's try it like, is anything perfect? No. No. But like what I just have a problem with people that they just want to boo boo on everything. And it's like, oh, what have you created lately? So instead of trying to tear stuff down, how about we focus on like creating our own rings of power? And it is, yeah. I mean, look, Peter Jackson created a standard. That little New Zealand hobbit created a standard, and I don't. It would be extremely hard for somebody to beat that standard. And like I said, Jeff Bezos is not my favorite person. So the thoughtfulness that his little bald head has and his little creative team has, I think was probably vastly less expansive than that of Jackson's, just because Peter Jackson's a brilliant guy. I mean, they come once in a lifetime. So I certainly understand what you're saying. But I'm enjoying watching this, and I'm enjoying the story. And what I really want to see is I would like to see them stay true to the stuff that we know. And the stuff that we know is that Sauron shows himself in a fair form, known as Anatar the Giftbringer. He teaches Celebrimbor how to forge rings of power. These rings of power are then used to corrupt men and dwarves. Celebrimbor forges 3 of his own for the elves to protect and preserve. However, 100 years after that, Sauron forges his own ring to rule them all. And once he puts on that ring, the elven bearers are cognizant enough to recognize that they've been duped, that a new ring exists. And so these are the things we know, and I don't see them yet. I don't see them veering from that story. I see things kind of setting up and being aligned to it. Also, I see Hallbrand as being Witch King material. Some people are like, so Hallbrand Sauron. Okay, but I don't think that's probable, but it could happen. It might be possible. So I'm not going to throw it out, but at the same time, he's much more Witch King Nazgul material to me. He would take a ring in a second. He would take a ring in a second. So, anyways, that's where I'm at. I'm enjoying watching it. I'm always open to, discuss and, put what you guys think down in the comments if you guys have certain theories or criticisms, things like that, because I don't have problem with critiquing or criticisms, but it's just the excessive toxic hate. I just feel like it's so unnecessary. Um, like, try to create something. Or what I've seen people do that I thought was really great is, instead of making the rant videos, they made these videos saying, if I wrote the script, if I were going to make my own rings of power, this is the story and how I would do it. And that's badass, because it's like, okay, you're not just dookying on it. You're saying, I'm a fan. I'm coming with a certain base of knowledge, and if I had the reins, this is what I would do, and lay out your ideas, because that's what people want to hear. People want to hear other people's ideas, because humans are innately artistic and creative beings, like motherfucking elves. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. You guys be safe. Take care, and wipe your booties front to back. Boom.